If this ordinance is affecting the rights of landowners to do whatever they want with their land, I would like to know that it's not oppressive, but at the same time, I'd like to know that it is going to protect the quality of the water that we all use. Secondly, I'd like to ask if somebody from the planning board or the selectmen could explain to me that if we approve this ordinance, how is it changed in the future to respond to new information or the changing situation? And if we defeat this ordinance, what is the process that we must go through to get something in place that does do what we want to do?
In the ordinance, if you all have it on page 6, there's a list of criteria that any permittee or requested permittee would need to deal with respect to their permit. The issues have to do, in other words, if you own the gentleman who owns the tract of land, and if he wants to use water under that land that he discovers for commercial purposes, he would come to the planning board. And under the current law, there's just some general language about drought conditions, but under the new law that I recommend you put into place now that it's before you, there would be criteria relating to sustainability of supply. You would need to demonstrate that the water you use could be sustained, that the recharge and use would not mine the water. Secondly, that there would be an impact on water. Is that
I don't think I made myself clear. What I'm asking is, how does this ordinance change or not change all of the kind of accountability through codes and whatever for people who are not withdrawing water, but doing other things?
Like,
I don't know, putting up a tanning factory.
it only relates to groundwater use.
So it doesn't change any of the regulations that already exist for landowners.
Well, it also includes what is called a wellhead protection overlay district, which has been drawn based on a hydrological study. It has been expanded and changed from the current district that's in place. That district was drawn so that all water in zones of contribution to the public water supply are under requirements that will assure that water will remain pure and unaffected.
And what I'm asking then is, to what degree does this wellhead protection area change the existing regulations for landowners?
It does not change it over the particular requirements, but it adds additional area. The area that was included over and above what currently exists, for those landowners within that area, they were notified, there was a hearing, we have not heard.
So in other words, it doesn't change or strengthen or put more restrictions on that other than what already exists, but it does extend the area that those restrictions apply to.
That's correct, and those are very strong restrictions with respect to water supply. And what I was explaining was the protection that this includes for other wells outside of that area. I didn't hear your question exactly, so I was trying to explain that part. But yes, the area's been expanded, and the controls that currently exist have been expanded to a broader area. And they're very strong controls to assure the public water supply is protected.
Meaning basically to limit pollution, chemicals in the ground.
You can't do that, yeah, that's right. Hazardous materials, mineral extraction, anything that would go into the aquifer water is not allowed. In other words, it protects the quality of the water. We're expanding the wellhead protection zone because we know now more about what that zone of contribution is and how to protect it. The other question was, how do you make changes? And
basically a comparison between what the changing, what the process is to alter this ordinance, if we put it in place to get it to do what we need to do. How does that compare to what we have to do if we defeat this ordinance to get something in place to do what we want it to do?
well, if you defeat this ordinance, you will also be defeating the change in the wellhead protection district. And we will have to see whether we can bring that up in the future. It can be brought up with a unanimous vote of the planning board in a period before 2 years, if it's not a unanimous vote of the planning board, we can't change the district for 2 years potentially. We'll have to look at the specifics of that, but that's a possible result. Additionally, the ordinance contains a provision with respect to the cap within the wellhead, within the Orange Brook aquifer, that as new information comes to the planning board without a town meeting, the planning board with hearings can change those caps, reduce them, or expand them if it's proven that there is no negative impact on the use of that, of the water.
So in essence, the ability to change and strengthen the ordinance rests entirely with the planning board.
In part, only with respect to the cap in the Ward's Brook aquifer. For the Ward's Brook aquifer, there are mechanisms for the planning board to change up or down as new information comes before it. If we find that there is damage to some resource, either the pond or the brook or whatever, that cap can be reduced to the degree it controls future permits. But it is flexible, but it doesn't require another town meeting.
Am I right in assuming that if we defeat this ordinance, then basically either the planning board or some other committee goes back to the drawing board, starts and develops either adapting this one or creating a new ordinance, bringing it to a town meeting?
It could, yes. And as I said in my request for delay, that I thought the key thing is to just, a calm look at what are we trying to achieve and how we want to achieve it. And then you can compare that with this. As I've stated, it's a strong ordinance, it has a lot of good things, and it has flexibility, but that's what would happen if it was